It's a great pleasure to welcome a true Manchester United legend to the podcast, Mr. Reliable himself, Denis Irwin.
Thank you very much. Great to be back in Norway.
Yeah, you're back. You've been here a few times now. You've been to Trondheim as well?
Yes, I played here in 1992.
What do you remember?
Wow, that's a long time ago. I remember scoring the winner, actually, which is really good memory. But any place we come in Norway, whether it's up in Oslo, down in Oslo, or up in Tromsø, or in Bergen, we always get a really great reception. We got such a huge fan base here in Norway, and it's a great place to come because obviously the Norway League is right in the middle and pretty fit, so it's a good test for our young lads. But it's the hospitality we get here is second to none.
We tried to figure out how many tours you've been to now as a former Manchester United player, but how is it to see everything that's going on during the summer and be so close to the preparations at Manchester United?
It's great. I mean, I was privileged to play for Manchester United. I think when you play, you're in a bit of a bubble, particularly pre-season. I think you just concentrate on getting fit, trying to stay fit, compete in the matches, and yeah, you're aware of how big Manchester United are, but you're still within that kind of bubble. I think away from it now, as a club ambassador, an honour to travel around the world and particularly do pre-season, but you get to witness more about what the fans are all about, and the passionate support we have here in Norway is incredible. You take a bit more in, you see a bit more of the cities. So yeah, it's a particularly good job I've got at the moment, working as an ambassador of Manchester and travelling. As for the players, they'll be stuck in a room now, probably preparing for the game, having meetings, manager preparing the team. A lot of good young lads have come across. But it's different as a player, as an ex-player. I much prefer this in a certain kind of way.
Yeah.
I mean, playing is something special, but just kind of sitting back. And I've done my bit and sitting back now and witnessing what Manchester United is all about, all over the world, and particularly here in Norway.
And especially when the weather is nice.
Yeah. I mean, we're used to indifferent weather in Manchester anyway, and particularly the last 6 or 7 months. This is quite nice actually. For would this be classed as mid Norway or North Norway?
Yeah. Sort of mid Norway.
Mid
Norway,
Norway,
I
so it's not too bad,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
You had a fantastic career at Manchester United, Dennis. If I'm not mistaken, there were only 3 seasons you didn't win anything at the club. And now it's 25 years since, should we say, the pinnacle with the 99 treble. How was it for you to see the 99 series?
Yeah, I mean, it brings back obviously great memories. It's strange that you're brought up to 3 years that we never won anything, because that sticks in your head more than a lot of other successes actually, because particularly the 95 season where we lost the league in the last game of the season down at West Ham, and then a few days later lost cup final to Everton. So that wasn't a great season for us in the end. But 99 brings back unbelievable memories. I mean, I was part of a great squad under a great manager. The environment that was in there was tough, but it was good to be in there. Of course, when you look back on it from a Norwegian point of view as well, to have three players in there as well, and probably in the most and the biggest year of Manchester United's history, I'd say. Just special memories, and just caught up with Ronnie Johnson down there at breakfast, which is good to see. Ronnie was very much an integral part of that team. And yeah, just whenever I bump into Jaap Stam, or I meet Teddy Sheringham every now and again, I kind of meet Roy every now and again, Gary Nev, and it's just a great feeling. Great lads, great camaraderie, and yeah, great memories, and good to see the documentary. Really was.
I was just thinking, when I look back at your career at United, Dennis, one thing that seems to kind of strike me every single time is it seems to me like it was perfectly timed, because you joined Manchester United just as United were kind of on the way up, and you won the Cup Winners' Cup in your first season, and then came a glorious decade afterwards. And as Eivind mentioned, a lot of people, a lot of United fans would look upon you probably as the greatest left back United ever had. But when you actually joined from Oldham, you played the first season as a right back, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I played all my career. I mean, when I was growing up in Ireland, I played as a centre half, a bit like Gary Neville, really. I didn't grow tall enough to be a centre half in England, because in those days everybody had a huge centre forward, and that's the way the English Premier League played back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was more or less a game of wingers and crossing balls and defenders being able to head them clear. So moved across to the right back position. Played for, obviously, joined from Oldham. Played my first year at right back. As you said, won the Cup Winners' Cup in Rotterdam against a really good Barcelona team. Signed Paul Parker, who was probably thinking he was going to come as a centre half, ended up right back and pushed me to left back.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
But what did Fergie tell you? Okay, we bought Paul Parker, so you moving from right to
Simple
left.
as.
Yeah,
simple as that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be here for the next 10 years. So that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. But you do worry though, because
Yeah.
obviously, you're taking yourself out of a position that you're comfortable with, the most comfortable position you're with. And I know left full back is very similar in what you have to do, but you're still on your slightly weaker foot. I was lucky that my left foot was better than okay, I suppose. And I had a certain Mr. Giggs in front of me who had a wonderful left foot. But yes, first year right back, the next 11 years left back. Yeah, brilliant.
Can I just ask you, this is one thing, when we look about back to that season of 92-93, Eric Cantona joins from Leeds, and a lot of people would say that he was a missing piece in that jigsaw.
Yeah.
And it's that famous phone call between Sir Alex Ferguson
Yeah,
and Martin
yeah.
Edwards, and everyone know that Leeds wanted to sign you, and Ferguson said no way, but what about Cantona coming the other way? And he came. But how much did you know about that time that you played a crucial role in the whole kind of Cantona coming to United, and unknowingly really, but have you ever kind of reflected on that? What if Ferguson wanted me to go to Leeds? So
first of all, I knew absolutely nothing about it, thank God. It's I don't know how, obviously now it's a few people have written a book about it, and how Eric came to Manchester United, and it's amazing really that one of your biggest rivals at the time would sell their best player, a centre forward, to one of their biggest rivals. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad the manager didn't approach me, because if he would have said, like, Leeds have been in for you, it's up to you. You got decisions to make, because if he's saying that, you might have to take the option of moving on. I'm glad he didn't. We got Eric Cantona, who was, I would never say the final piece of the jigsaw, but certainly went a long way to us winning our first Premier League title. But I gotta say that the players within those 3 or 4 years that we signed after me, in terms of Andrzej Kanchelskis, Paul Parker, Eric, Roy Keane, just after he won the first Premier League, they were huge signings around that era that really pushed us on a little bit. But Eric was slightly different, and him joining, of course, he just won the league the year before with Leeds, and had that experience and, I suppose, confidence in himself that we maybe had lacked at the time. And he certainly was a big piece of that final piece of jigsaw to slot in and get us over the line. But it was a great era for Manchester United. And yeah, I'm just delighted that the manager never approached me after when Leeds came calling.
So
You stayed, and Cantona signed, and you were a very consistent player for Ferguson. Can you try to put into words how you won Ferguson's trust? What was he looking for in his players?
I think all he ever wanted from players was to concentrate on playing for Manchester United, do your very best. Work hard was a given. I think he expected everybody to within that environment, within that dressing room, that everybody worked extremely hard in training and looked after yourself away from the game. Because when you think about it, you know, you train 2 hours a day tops. You play 2 matches a week, so you got a lot of spare time in your hands. Make sure that you look after yourself as best as you can away from the game. If you do make mistakes, make sure you learn from them. I think that was one of his mantras, especially as a defender. You can't keep repeating the same mistakes. And generally just give it everything. And I think if you did that with Sir Alex, I think you were good. If you weren't up to scratch, he'd accept that. What he didn't like, I suppose, is players with huge talent that didn't put that effort in. So I probably fitted right into the type of player that he kind of trusted and liked. You know, I was a player that I thought about the game anyway. And yeah, he just seemed to trust me, I suppose, because I had young lads were coming through. Phil Neville was breathing down my neck. You know, Gary had came in and taken Paul Parker's place, and obviously the class of 92 with Scholesy and Butsy and Becks, they're all breaking in the team. So there was always pressure, and even players linked to Manchester United in the left back position. So there was always pressure on you to keep performing, keep at your level best. And yeah, I think he saw that in me, and that I was focused on the job, and I think he appreciated that and obviously trusted me. Yeah, it was a great 12 years. I can't really complain, to be fair.
I just wanted to go back to when you actually won the first league title in 92-93, because it was such a huge relief for everyone associated with Manchester United. But the guy who actually decided the title for United was an old friend of yours, wasn't it, from Oldham? Which I spoke to a few years ago, and he happened to be a big Liverpool fan. So he said to me that after he played games for Oldham and did well, all his friends from Liverpool would call him. After that goal, no one wanted to speak to him because he handed the title to United. But one thing he did say that was great was that because Oldham stayed up that year by finishing strongly. Yeah. The chairman treated the Oldham squad to a trip. I can't remember where it was, but it was far away, and we done in Asia or somewhere like that. And this is going back to 93. And he said a lot of United fans recognised the Oldham team, recognised him, and came up to him and thanked him for winning the league. And he was thinking, if this happened in Manchester, I could understand it. Yeah. We're on the other side of the world. Yeah. Then it dawned on me how big Manchester United really are. But was that a feeling that you as players had as well, that we finally done it now? Okay, now we can kind of breathe and relax and rebuild and go on and win more titles for the future.
Yeah, I that was a huge moment, I think, for Manchester United. I think obviously the 70s and 80s were fairly barren. Yeah, there was a few FA Cup wins in there and maybe a couple of League Cup wins. 83, 85 FA Cup wins, 1990 FA Cup win, 91 Cup Winners' Cup, 92 League Cup, 91, 92 where we lost it to Leeds, or they won it, whatever way you want to describe that, was a huge disappointment for us, a huge blow. So for us, and that season, 92, 93, the first Premier League season, we started horrendously poor. We lost the first couple of games, drew the third at home.
You scored.
I scored, yeah. And we didn't get off to a great start, and we were under quite a bit of pressure. And for us to climb back into the race and be where we were, and we just needed to get over the line, and we didn't care how we got over the line. So for Oldham to do that at Phillip Park for us, even though we still had 2 or 3 games to go, was a huge relief. I got to say that.
You would have won it anyway, because you finished the season. So
looking back in it, right, we didn't care. No. We just wanted to get over the line, particularly after what happened the previous season. And we celebrated, but the atmosphere at home to Blackburn at Old Trafford on that, when we'd actually won it, was a mixture of pure relief from the fans, because it'd been such a long time since we'd won the league. Was it 27 26 years or something
26
like
years,
that.
yeah, so 67.
And pure ecstasy, really, because I think we were a good team football-wise to watch. We Andre on the right, Giggsy on the left, you know, Eric and Mark Hughes up front. We were Incy and McClare in midfield, and you know we were encouraged to attack. We were a good team on the eye, an easy team on the eye to watch, and all that. And you put all that into perspective and get it over the line. The confidence we got from that was massive. Massive. And then of course we signed Roy on the back of that, and then the class of 92, 93 really broke through, and then the manager signed Ollie and Ronnie and players of that ilk. And we just seemed to get a bigger squad, you know, a more kind of a real attacking team. And we went on. And even after I left, you know, the club went on and won great trophies, and very consistent as well over a 20-year period. But that 92, 93, looking back on it, I think it was massive. I really do. It was such an important year in the club's history.
Two of the most kind of standout seasons in Manchester United's modern history, 93-94 when the club won the first double,
Yeah.
and then 98-99 when we won the treble as the first English team. How would you compare the two squads? Because they were really strong teams.
Yeah. The 90,
different ways.
It's easy to distinguish this. The 93-94 team was physically tough.
Yeah.
You look at like Brucey and Pally and Parks and Roy and Incy in midfield and Mark Hughes up front with Eric. All of them were physical characters. Big Pete in goal as well. You know, it was a very imposing team. You know, myself, Parks on the right, obviously, and Andre and Giggsy. Robbo was still there. We didn't have a big squad. I think if you look at the squad, you know, it was a squad of 14, 15, 16. Fast forward 5 years later, and there's not many of us still there. But what we do have in 98, 99 is a fantastic squad. You could probably name the team that played in the final of the Champions League final. Obviously, we're missing Scholesy and Roy, but you could probably name the 11. And then you could probably have another 8 or 9 after that could easily slip into that team. And I think that was the big difference between and even though it's only 5 years, I think, you know, there was a lot of changes within that squad. You know, some big personalities went out there. Robbo left in 94. You know, the manager was brave in 95 when Mark Hughes, Kanchelskis and Incy went. You know, Brucey went the year after, Pally. You know, there was a lot of big characters left around that era, and there wasn't that, like Big Pete was left with me and Giggsy. You know, from that 93-94, Keeney was still there, but there was a big kind of change in players that came in, and that was the big difference. You know, the physicality, and probably 16 players in 93-94 to 98-99, where it was a squad of 22, and a lot of 4 centre forwards. I think, you know, when you look back in it, that was particularly a difference, that the manager could chop and change with Yorkie and Coley up front, and with Teddy and Ollie, who were just as good, you know, just as good in scoring goals. I think that was a big difference.
We have a challenge for you, and perhaps we should have prepared you, because this is not going to be easy.
I've no doubt you would have. Yeah, you should have done.
We have we like 5-a-side teams in the podcast, and we'd like you to name 5 players, and you can include yourself, obviously, that you would put in your 5-a-side team.
So are the rules that I've had to play with them?
Yeah, let's say that.
Right.
To narrow it down.
To narrow it down.
It's still difficult, though.
Thanks for that. I've always said that. I mean, we've always, when I played, and you know, you played defenders against attackers. Even though attackers are better footballers than defenders will always win 5-a-side, 5v5. Seriously.
Yeah.
Because they're more switched on and will defend straight away and things like that. So, do we include a keeper in that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have an aggressive 5-a-side. I would definitely have Big Pete. I would definitely have Roy. I would definitely have Robbo. And I would have... I would definitely have Mr. Ruud van Nistelrooy to score the goals. My last one I'd have to stick a midfielder. Well, I'd have, because Robbo and Roy can play defenders anyway. So it'd probably have to be probably a Giggsy or Scholesy just to knit the group together in midfield. So that would be my tough decision. But definitely Big Pete in goal, Roy, and I could put Yap in there as well to make it a really angry five, couldn't I?
Have you got room for yourself in this team? It's
I wouldn't squeeze in there. I wouldn't squeeze in there. In fact, I might.
It's a good team, though.
Yeah, I'd have a tough team, tough team with a player like Rude to stick the. That's tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough. But certainly the players like Roy and Robbo are unbelievably good players. Yeah, the both probably mirrored each other a little bit, actually, in the fact that they started off box-to-box players and ended up as holding midfield players that could play a holding role as a centre half as well. So they'd definitely be in there. Big Pete would definitely be in there. I'd need a goal scorer, and I suppose out of them all, Rude would probably just about get the nod. And then I'd stick a Yap or a Scholesy or a Giggsy in there alongside him.
It's a decent team.
It's more than a decent team. It's an aggressive team.
Yeah.
There might be an out sending off every now and again.
Maybe more 93, 94 than 98, 99.
Yeah, a mixture of both. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know if you did this with Mr. Robson, but I probably spoiled. He would be as well, because he was there 13 years. I was there 12 years. And I'm leaving some.
And now Rude is back as a coach. What do you think he can bring to Eric's coaching staff? Yeah,
it's good to see Rude back. I've not met him yet, actually. Yeah, I mean, he knows what Manchester United is all about. You know, he's done his I suppose, his apprenticeship. He's managed a big club in Holland. So I'm sure he can bring an awful lot to help Eric, the manager, out. You know, it's a new face on the block, I suppose, for a lot of players, new ideas. We had, as well as the finish last season, you know, with the final, we had an indifferent year last season. I think you got to hold the hands up and say, you know, disappointing to finish 8th. In Europe last year, going out before Christmas. League Cup didn't do so well, so you would say the FA Cup final win against City saved our season. But you know, in terms of consistency, we've got to get back up there and start competing again. And I think he's got that knowledge, and he will bring an awful lot to the party. And obviously, he was a tremendous striker as well. Obviously, probably out of them all, the 12 years I was there, one of the better ones. So hopefully he can bring an awful lot to the party. I'm sure he's not just concentrating on attacking, because I hope, I'm sure he'll have more input than that. But really great that he's back in the fold.
How do you remember him from the training sessions back then?
Yep.
I've heard Gary Neville. He spoke with Rude in the overlap interview, and he said every time you didn't score, there was trouble.
He was. Yeah, if you didn't pass to him, he was just a goal scorer, and goal scorers are like that, and they want to score goals. And even though sometimes you might look upon it as being a little bit selfish, he just wanted to score goals, and he was a fantastic. He was brilliant at that. You look at, I suppose, the percentage of goals he scored within 8 yards of the goal. It would be a very high percentage, and some of them look like tap-ins, but that is a goal scorer's way of scoring goals, and he certainly would fall into that category. So yeah, he was determined. He wanted to score goals, and if he didn't score a goal, he'd be hugely disappointed.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that the interesting thing now with the strong Dutch link that is at United, maybe it's time to get a Dutch dictionary or something, so we can start understanding the language. But I was just going to say that if you look at the history of Manchester United, we have some great Dutch players up front, and at the back, and even Advin in goal. But I'm looking at the midfielders that come to Premier League, not just Manchester United, but Premier League in general. And Dutch midfielders seem to struggle a little bit in the Premier League. I'm just curious to why you think that is.
The only thing I'd say is that obviously the pace of the Premier League, I don't think there's any league around the world like that. I suppose probably the Bundesliga is probably the closest. yeah, I don't know. Maybe you know, technically Dutch are brilliant at football. I'm looking at them, you know, and they're always good on the ball. You know, I've always had great strikers. Even when I was growing up I grew up in the 70s, and total football there. You know, when I look back on Holland, or Netherlands, they were really unlucky that as far back as 74, getting beat in a World Cup final against West Germany, and then getting beat in the final in 1978 against Argentina in Argentina. So they fell unlucky there. So they've always, you go through the 80s when Van Basten and Holth and Rijkaard, you know, they've always been a great team. But yeah, for some reason, I don't know, the Premier League is a brute, and you've got to be either very physically fit or an exceptionally good footballer. And yeah, I don't know why, because technically and tactically they're very astute, the Dutch, but certainly centre forwards. We've had Robin van Persie and Ruud, and I'm probably missing out on a few more defenders. I mean, Yap, and obviously Edwin in goal as well. But midfielders, so yeah, we'll see. And just going back to what you said, we'll have to learn the dictionary actually. When foreign players used to come in the early 90s, particularly Andrew Kanchelskis, we used to teach them a few choice English words, if you know what I mean. Yap
nice ones?
Not nice ones, not nice ones. Yap taught me a few not nice Dutch words as well, so I can't repeat them here. But yeah, no, it's good, and yeah, it's good. I mean, the camaraderie, I'm sure within the squad of bees just as good as when I was there. And we're here, beginning of the season, optimistic as forever we should be. So hopefully the season will go very well.
There's a bit of a question mark on left back at Manchester United today. We've seen Luke Shaw now in the Euros. Hopefully he'll be fit for next season and play week in and week out like you did, Denis. But there's a young lad called Harry Mass who's probably going on tour this summer. What's your expectations to him? Yeah,
well, if Luke is fit, he'll play. Simple as that. And although the manager's got an alternative of sticking him in the middle as well, I'm hoping that Martinez, who I think is a huge player for us and has played nearly every game in the Copa America, and they've just got to the final and won it. I'm hopeful that he will stay fit the season coming up, and Luke will stay fit as well, and he'll be our left back. Malacia, I think, is doing a lot of running, so he hopefully will come back, because he's had a year out, which is a long time as a professional footballer, a season out, and hopefully he'll come back to challenge. But Harry Amas is a very interesting one, because I've watched him quite a bit last season. He's a left back. He's quite a big lad for a left back. He's very, very strong. Watched him all last season in the youth team. I mean, they did exceptionally well. You know, they cleaned up everything except for the Youth Cup, actually, which is a bit of a shame. They got beat at Swindon 2-0, which is left field, and I suppose that's what football's all about. But he's looked very strong, played really well in the final of the North v South down at Chelsea, and hopefully he'll play matches. Well, Luke won't be back for a while after being away with England, and I don't know how long Malacia will take to get back within that first team squad. That gives him an opportunity, and that's all you need pre-season, an opportunity for him to show that he can first of all play and handle the pressure of playing for Manchester United, because as a young lad, that's all you want. And we know with the manager having come through at Ajax and knows what Manchester United is all about, and the quickness of how Kobbie Mainoo has jumped from 16, 17, 18 months ago, where he was trying to get into the Manchester United team to playing regular for England. It shows you that he believes in youth as well. So this is an opportunity for not just Harry Amas, but there's one or two more players within that squad that will play first team, that will get first team opportunities on the tour, and they've got to grab it, not just by showing the manager what they've got in training, but also more importantly in the game, in the games to come. So really looking forward to him playing Harry and other players as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say that because as excited as we get with new signings coming into the club every year, it's easy to forget, even for us, the great line of talents coming through at the fantastic academy we have. And like you said, Kobe, Alejandro Garnacho, another example. There are young players coming to play now with United and Trondheim. And Eric is not afraid to give youngsters a chance. He proved that at Ajax, and he will prove that again at Manchester United. But I was just going to say that how important is it for a club like Manchester United to keep bringing these talents through? Because you saw it first-hand experience with the class.
I mean, I don't think anybody will ever replicate what happened with us in the early 90s with the quality of the 6 lads coming through. That, I mean, there was more after that, but particularly you thought the class in 92, well, Giggsy broke through first, but then, you know, the 2 Nevs, Becks, Butsy and Scholesy. Are you going to do that again? Very much doubt it, but as long as there's a conveyor belt of players every season or every second season, and it is getting harder to get through, because back in the 90s it was predominantly at that age British and Irish players at 16 trying to make it. Now you've got other nationalities pushing you along the way, and even if they can't come across at 16 and 18, they'll come across. So the competition is obviously, the stakes are much higher, so it's harder to get through. So maybe that's one of the reasons why you'll never get 5 or 6 through again at the same time. But as long as we keep getting players like Cobby through, and I know there's high hopes for quite a few this under 18 and just under that. Wheatley played bits and pieces for us last year. Might see a bit more of him pre-season. Collier's just signed a new contract. I know the manager was there. You know, there's other players. Mr. Fletcher won't like me saying this, but you know, he's got 2 lads there, and Jack played very well last year. I'm sure he'll get minutes pre-season. And there's 1 or 2 other players as well. So hopefully we'll get, you know, 1 or 2 of them through to compete, because it's in the DNA of the club. And obviously with financial regulations these days being a lot stricter, you need to get young lads through. You really do. And we've had, you know, we got Scott obviously in the squad, and Marcus, and there's other players knocking about as well. It's hugely important that teams get young lads through. And we've always been one of the best at it, and let's hope that continues.
And it seems Manchester United are looking for young players in the transfer market as well.
Yep.
What kind of changes have you seen at the club with Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in?
Hard for me to say so far, because this is kind of the start of his first season. We certainly seen big changes at the very top football-wise, with Omar coming in, Dan Ashworth coming in, Jason Wilcox coming in, football people, so who have got a good experience at other clubs. So I think that's I mean, he's probably sat back and looked at it, and probably what's been kind of our weakest link in the last 10, 12 years since Sir Alex left. And you would say probably the transfer dealings would be high on that list, and it looks like he's addressing that. Now that's not going to be easy, of course. It's not. You can't just go from what we've probably been pretty average in the transfer market, and a lot of people would say pretty poor, to being unbelievably good. So that'll take a little bit, but I think certainly we'll be better at that, and that will set us in the right direction. I got to over the last 10 or 11 years, we've had a lot of bright moments under every manager, probably under Ollie and under Jose and under Van Gaal. We've had bright moments, but they've kind of petered out a little bit. We need good consistency, and I think this is a big year for us. I really do. And hopefully we'll see 2 or 3 good signings to align it with 1 or 2 lads coming through. There's no doubt there's change coming along. 1 or 2 lads have left organically. We've seen that, in the summer. Maybe you'll see 1 or 2 move out as well. It's part and parcel of football now. And I think we'll see change, but I think we'll see change for the better on the football side of things.
Thank you so much for your time, Denis, and have a nice trip to the States.
Can I just ask you one last question? Because Eivind did a great, what he called party trick in the podcast a little while ago. Blindfolded, he mentioned every player that United have been linked to this summer. So I'm gonna try this out now, and I'm gonna ask you just to confirm that this is not something we had agreed on beforehand. If I ask you what is the nicest or your favorite kit you ever played in for Manchester United?
Yeah.
And I have a theory what it might be. I've written it down now. I was just gonna see if we match.
Yeah, go on. I've got one favourite kit. I know that.
You have. Okay, what's that?
It is the black shirt
The black shirt.
with sharp view cam on it, I think it is.
Okay, the 93-94 one. Okay,
You got it wrong.
I got it wrong. I had that one.
That's a bad
Yeah,
part.
that's lovely. That'd be probably Mr. Robson's favourite shirt.
Okay, yeah, probably would be. Okay.
Nice try though.
No,
nice
party
try.
trick from me.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just shows you
You have
things
the
go
guts.
wrong.
Yeah, but that,
Yeah,
that
so
was a
good.
great kit.
It was a great kit. I don't think we lost too many games in that kit,
No.
actually. No. Black
Lost
kit.
the league title with that against West Ham, but apart from that,
Apart
yeah.
from that, never mind.
Okay, anyways, thanks for the entertainment, Bjarte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Dennis.
Pleasure being here. Thanks very much.